Welcome back to some new PettyRevenge stories, where people share small victories over those who wronged them. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now, let's start with the first story, shall we? It's called Success Revenge. 3 years ago, I was let go from a stained glass studio, where I worked as an artist, handling glass painting and design. All because I spoke up about safety. The owner had put me in charge of safety, because I came from a studio that took it seriously. I read through OSHA manuals, made countless recommendations for safer handling of lead, acid and other hazardous materials. Despite my efforts, most of my suggestions were ignored. Then during 2020, someone, not me, contacted OSHA when some coworkers were refusing to wear masks. The owner assumed it was me, because I was vocal about safety concerns. Not long after, they hired someone new, removed my safety duties, and fired me, citing lack of work. Funny enough, this was right after they just hired my replacement. Back then, my contributions and experience were often overlooked. I was already working on my own art, but when I lost that job, I wasn't sure how I'd get by in Los Angeles. I just knew I'd have to try. Surprisingly though, this turned out to be the best thing that could have happened for my career. Just last night I ran into that same owner at an event. The studio's now struggling so badly that employees are down to just 2 work days per week, and most of them are actively looking for new jobs. The owner said, "I heard you had a show." And yes, I actually have a solo show with a major gallery. I just smiled and said, yes, things are going really well. Success really is the best response. The next story is called Spot Swap. My apartment complex has assigned parking spots, and each unit has one spot that's designated for that tenant. A few weeks ago, my new neighbor started parking in my spot after work. At first, I let it slide, figuring maybe she just got mixed up. But when it kept happening, I left a polite note, asking her to please use her own spot. The next day, I came home, and sure enough, her car was parked in my spot again. To top it off, she'd crumbled up my note and left it under her windshield wiper, as if ignoring it was something to be proud of. So I decided to give her a taste of her own medicine and started parking in her assigned spot instead. This went on for 2 days, before she began leaving notes on my car, asking me to stop. I kept swapping our spots daily, until she finally knocked on my door to talk. I acted completely surprised and said, "Oh, I thought we were doing a swap, since you were using mine." She stammered out some excuse, but from then on, she's been parking in her own spot. Now, every time I pull into my spot and see it empty, it feels like a small but satisfying win. The third story is called Wouldn't Move. The other day, I was delivering fuel to a gas station. The station is set up so the tank access lids are right by the parking spots, which means for me to unload, I need to block all of the spots in front of the building. Usually, there's a car or 2 in the way, so I wait for the coast to clear, or put out cones to stop others from parking there while I get into position. But this time, a woman in a Tesla just couldn't stand the idea of parking a few feet away, and decided she had to move my cone to park right in front of the door. I hopped out of the truck, went inside, and politely asked her to move so I could deliver the fuel. She told me, "Get lost, you can wait until I'm done here." So I did the only reasonable thing. I put my truck in right behind her, with barely a few inches to spare, and set the brakes, blocking her in completely. Because I couldn't use my ideal setup, I had to use my smaller hose to reach, which slowed my delivery down by about 30%. I told her it would normally take around 45 minutes, but with the smaller hose, we were looking at an hour and 15. She got in her car, visibly fuming, and called the cops. They arrived about 10 minutes later, listened to both sides, and after hearing from the gas station employee who backed me up, told her she'd have to wait. So I took my time unloading, doing my paperwork, and made sure everything was sorted. After an hour and a half, I finally put my truck away, only for her to zoom past me, pull into the street, and get T-boned by an oncoming pickup truck. The truck was fine, but her car was totaled. Thankfully, she wasn't injured, but I couldn't help laughing at the whole scene. The next story is called Parking Spot Revenge. I live in an apartment complex where parking is in high demand. There's an unspoken rule that if someone's waiting for a spot, you let them have it. Simple enough, unless you are Karen. One evening, I'm doing the usual post-work parking hunt. Finally, I see someone about to pull out near my building. I've got my blinker on, patiently waiting. But just as I'm about to pull in, Karen zooms in out of nowhere, grabs the spot, and strolls off like she owns the place. I honk, hoping maybe she didn't see me. But no, she gives me that classic Karen wave and heads inside. Now, I could have confronted her, but we all know how that would go. Instead, I decided to handle it differently. I have a friend who works for the towing company that our complex uses. After ranting about the Karen situation, he lets me know something interesting. Karen's car is technically parked over the line into our fire lane. Not by much, but enough to be a violation. The next day he swings by, slaps a warning on her car, and true to form, she ignores it. The car stays right there, and by the next night, it's towed. You'd think that would teach her a lesson, but no, not Karen. A week later, she's back, this time taking up 2 spaces, like she's trying to stake her claim. So I make another call, and another tow, but this time I leave a little parting gift. A sticky note on her windshield that says, "Parking is a privilege, not a right." Since then, Karen's been banished to parking on the street, and somehow, every time she tries to park in the lot, she ends up accidentally breaking another rule. Funny how that works. Now, Karen's been very quiet. No more smug raves, no more taking spots. Just Karen, quietly parking down the street, where she belongs. The last story is called Fake Note. I was trying to find a table at this packed coffee shop near my apartment. It's the kind of place that always has people hovering for seats. After doing a few laps, I spotted one guy taking over 3 prime spots by the window with his stuff. Laptop, notebook, coffee, and even a second chair just for his back. After a good 15 minutes of circling, I finally found a tiny spot in the corner. Irritated at the sheer audacity, I left a little note on his chair that said, "Sorry if I spilled coffee on your stuff, but you probably won't notice the stain." When I came back after a quick errand, I saw him frantically inspecting his things, looking super annoyed and talking on his phone. Not sure who he was venting to, but I kinda felt for them having to listen to him. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.